As we all know, America has a pretty dodgy food, and more specifically, some dodgy ingredients, to the point where those foods are banned in other countries. Today, we're going to see what those foods are. So if you're excited for this video, like, subscribe, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Very much appreciated. And if you have any other videos you want me to react to, leave them in the comments. So let's get into it.
Most Americans want to believe that the United States is the gold standard of clean food.
It's
But
not.
that belief may not hold up to scrutiny.
It's
From
definitely
unsanitary
not.
practices in mass production to the addition of dangerous chemicals, countries have good reason to give the side eye to imported foods claiming to be USDA approved. That's right.
It's
This
definitely-
week we're talking about American foods that have been banned by other countries.
Like, countries have what? McDonald's is yellow 3 and yellow 4. What the hell is yellow 3 and yellow 4?
But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. Then leave a comment and tell us what other world food facts you would like to know more about. Now let's see how wrong
Where did
the
yellow
rest
come
of the
from?
world really
The ingredient yellow come from? Skittles. What have they done to
Since the dawn of
Skittles?
Skittles, there have been rumors about the dangers of eating them.
I swear I've heard of
One
this
us
one. I
heard
swear
at least
isn't
one
that the
classmate
red?
claimed that
A
the
dodgy
red
Skittle.
ones make you sterile, and the yellow ones, they give you cancer. Turns out,
Oh.
it might be worse than that.
Okay.
First of all, your classmate wasn't wrong. The dyes known as Yellow 5 and Yellow 6 have been linked to hives and hyperactivity in children. Sweden and Norway have
Makes
banned the
sense.
candies out of concern. The European Union will most likely be banning Skittles at the end of the year, having already swapped out some of the dye for more natural flavors. This is because of something
It's
called
not banned.
titanium
It's
dioxide.
not banned. They're just redoing it. They're just making it better. Pretty much just how everything is in Europe or UK, whichever one you're in.
Which can be found making the colors pop across the rainbow. Research linked titanium dioxide to damaged DNA, which can lead to cancer. While Europe may be ahead of the Skittles awareness curve, America is quickly catching up. In May of
Is it actually, though?
2021, the Environmental Working Group asked the FDA to categorize titanium dioxide as toxic. And yes,
Taken until
before you ask,
2021
right
for
now
that to
the FDA
happen.
says it's okay to consume some of that chemical compound.
Of course it
You
is.
can taste the rainbow, but just in moderation. California is home to an ongoing lawsuit against Mars Inc., the parent company of Skittles. The lawsuit claims
That's a lot of
Skittles are not
Skittles.
only toxic, but are unfit for human consumption. So maybe for now, play it safe. Just go have some Swedish fish instead.
What's the point of Skittles then? Bread. How have they ruined bread? How can you mess up bread? It's simple. It's
Ever
wheat.
looked at a piece of crusty French baguette, be it in cartoon
You
or
idiot.
in real life? But let's be honest, it was probably in the hands of Pepe Le Pew. And think,
who?
I can't make a sandwich with that. As
You
great as we
can.
talk about the invention of sliced bread, a lot of European countries have actually banned much of what you'd find on America's wide grocer shelves.
What have they put in it
That's
now?
because we make a lot of our bread not just with grain, but with a variety snack packs worth of additives.
What is that? That's not real. That's mud. That looks like mud. Or cement. They put cement in bread.
With a variety snack packs
Wow.
worth of additives, like azodicarbonamide.
Yeah,
for
I know exactly
example,
what that
which
is.
helps bleach flour and strengthen
Bleach.
dough.
So they put
Fun
bleach in
fact about
bread.
azodicarbonamide, it's also used in a spectrum of industrial products, including yoga mats.
So you're eating yoga
Downward
mats.
dogs. The European Union is really against the idea of its citizens eating yoga mat material and has banned their use in food products.
Not surprised. Pork. What have they? How can you mess up? How can you mess
Pork,
this
the
up?
other white meat, is a staple of American meats, along with chicken, fish, and beef. From bacon to
Do they add something that has 16 letters in?
ham, hot dogs to pork chops. American meat eaters consume about 67 pounds of pig per person every year. Sue-wee,
That is a lot of
my
pig.
heart is stopping.
Yeah, it
Don't
probably
get us
is.
wrong. Other nations indulge in swine just as much, if not more, than Americans. So why doesn't the U.S. export scores of succulent bacon-bearing boars? Well, it turns out America adds a lot of chemicals during processing.
Doesn't surprise me.
Ractopamine in particular is used in
That's
many
11
pig
letters,
farms
that
to
was the
raise
point there.
porkier porkers. Ractopamine, which we put a dash of in a lot of foods, has been banned in 160 countries, which
So it's partially fake meat, is what it is.
all consider the drug unsafe for human consumption. This in turn
Is
has
any
led
drug
to a
actually
prohibition
safe?
of pork exports across the world. The EU hasn't touched the stuff since outlawing ractopamine in
2009.
2009. China and Russia have been ractopamine-less since 2013. Maybe that's because ractopamine has the same effects as an intoxicant on humans and can cause tachycardia, headaches, and muscle spasms if consumed in large enough quantities. But it is a small
COVID
price
got
to
to do with
pay
it?
for a perfect piece of the pork.
Chicken. Here we go. Next meat. What's next? Beef?
Hygiene
Steak?
in America often comes down to dousing stuff
No,
in
it's
a
the same
chlorine
thing, but you know
bath
what I
and
mean.
calling it FDA approved. And
What is it,
chicken
fake
is
chicken?
no exception.
It's gonna be fake chicken, that's
Pathogen
what it is.
reduction treatments, or PRTs, refer to the use of different chemicals to destroy harmful microbes on raw meat. Somewhere along the line, American food regulators decided a quick chlorine shock was the best way to kill salmonella and other bacteria on uncooked poultry. Chlorine marinade.
Chlorine.
And look,
Nice.
it's not that the EU is against taking a long gulp from the public pool now and then. In fact, the risks posed by chlorine consumption are relatively low.
Let's just drink a
Bigger
swimming
concern is
pool
that the
whilst
chlorine
we're having
baths
a bit
are
of
just an
KFC.
eye-burning band-aid on a larger problem. The tip of the beak, so to speak. They're worried
Let's order Nando's with a side of chlorine water.
that the PRTs are
That's
insufficient
smart.
to deal with more than just the normal bacteria and don't get at a potential contamination from things like low-quality feed to unsanitary coops on farms. The EU called the chlorine rinse an easy fix, arguing no chemical rinse will ever remove all bacteria from meat heavily contaminated as a result of poor hygiene. That hurts extra to hear it from the French.
What's wrong with the French? (1997), so for 27 years now, and America still hasn't done anything about it. That doesn't surprise me at all. Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew is the closest any soft drink has come to being fully weaponized. But did you know in Austria and Norway the soda is outright banned? That's because
Interesting.
Mountain Dew's signature Chernobyl radiant hue comes from
what?
tartrazine,
Oh,
also
and
known
again,
as
a
yellow
what?
5. And if
Why
your
does that look like
ADHD hasn't kicked in
golden
yet,
sand?
you'll remember that color and number from the Skittles section earlier.
Oh, we're back
It's
to
been linked to
Skittles.
headaches, hyperactivity, and the desire to be annoying to other people. Ironically, the qualities that make
Makes you annoying to other people, and then that's not a clear indication that we should do something about it. You're potentially harming others. That's fine. We'll leave it.
Mountain Dew a soda non gratis in other countries is exactly what the brand promotes: a frenetic, over-caffeinated lifestyle. Do the do. Baja Blast. Woo-hoo.
But what's
And while you
Baja
might be able to
Blast?
find Mountain Dew in Europe, it's going to hit a little different. That's because Europe spent exactly 2 years in the 90s riding the dew before discontinuing it.
Well, I don't think drinking Mountain Dew here makes you want to punch someone. So, well, I've not seen it. So,
What is being sold as Mountain Dew in the EU has a recipe closer to the original carbonated beverage, as created by Tennessee beverage bottlers Barney and Ollie Hartman in the 1940s. The original Mountain Dew was meant as a whiskey mixer, with a name coming from the affectionate Scottish term for moonshine. It'll tickle
Fair
your
enough,
innards,
fair
is
enough.
what the old ads used to read. No lies detected here.
Yahoo! Mountain Dew!
So America took something and messed it up. Why again? Why doesn't that surprise me in the slightest? Little Debbie. Very debatable.
Little Debbie has been providing Americans with comfort snack food since the 1960s, with their variety of zebra cakes, star crunches, nutty bars, fudge rounds, and cosmic brownies. But their big claim to fame, as anyone who has ever had
Does
their
look good, to be
lunch
fair.
packed by a parent can attest, is the Little Debbie Swiss Rolls, a mixture of
Well
rich
done.
chocolate cake and butter-creamy filling. Over 900 million cartons of Little Debbie products are shipped each year, but none of those cartons go anywhere near Austria or Norway. Blame
enough.
those rascally additives.
Ah, here we go. It's the yellows. Yellow 5 and yellow 6. The yellows have showed up. We've also got red. Red 40, so there's 39 other reds.
Yellow 5 and Red 40. Swiss rolls contain 32 milligrams of dye per product, and in those quantities, they've been shown to have an adverse effect on children. And we're not just talking about
Doesn't
causing
surprise me.
hyperactivity, although one study found that cutting all artificial food coloring from diets may be one half as effective as prescribing kids Ritalin. And while we can't prove there's a
Well, yeah, getting rid of chemicals over giving them pills is probably a better thing to do than giving them pills and keeping the colour.
direct connection between artificial food coloring and cancer, they do cause damage to white blood cells, causing them to mutate after only 3 hours.
3 hours.
Exposure to these dyes could cause tumor cells to multiply way more rapidly. For that
3
reason,
hours.
researchers say a high chronic intake of food colorings throughout the entire life is not advisable. If only they weren't so delicious. Surprisingly, you can buy Little Debbie's Swiss rolls in the EU, but they come with warning labels advising parents of the potential dangers to kids.
So what's the point? What's the point of them then if they're just going to kill you? And will start to kill you within 3 hours.
You know, like cigarettes.
Special K. Special K.
When you hear the words banned breakfast cereal, you're probably imagining one of the countless kid-focused brands of sugary morsels, like the oh-so-delicious Cookie Crisp. So you might be surprised to learn that it's actually
Well, Cookie
Special
Crisp still
K,
exists
the
in the
most
UK.
boring cereal on all of the earth, that has been banned in Denmark and discouraged in the EU.
How could you ruin something that's made to be somewhat healthy? I mean, again, what are they going to do? Is just add a bunch of sugar into the actual fruit?
How does the healthiest box of flakes on the shelf get banned, while stuff like Reese's Puffs and Cinnamon Toast Crunch continue to enjoy free passage? Ironically,
They're not as messed
because
up.
of its supposed health benefits. In the UK, Special K has been put on blast by the Advertising Standards Authority for exaggerating
Fair
how
enough.
much folic acid they pack into portions. Though it's still legal to buy
I'm
in
gonna ask-
Europe,
I'm gonna know what-
Denmark has
like I know what that
completely
is.
banned Special K since 2004 for all its fortified
20
vitamins
years,
and
you know.
minerals.
That is my thing. 2004 is 20 years ago. Here's the thing, this time next year, we're going to be closer to 2050 than 2000. And that is a scary thought.
Regulators argue that Kellogg's cereal's unnaturally high levels of everything from vitamin A to zinc actually qualify Special K as a genetically modified organism, or GMO. More specifically,
What's that
Special
mean?
K is swole with the same artificial compounds that studies have shown to potentially pose health risks, specifically to
Okay.
children and pregnant women. In
Nope,
conclusion,
I'm fine
you
then.
may want to stick with Crunch Berries.
So I'm fine. Ah, here we go. Here's the steak. It was a matter of time before we got steak.
You don't need to take a transcontinental flight to visit countries that have banned American foods. Just drive up to the Canadian border, flash your passport, and
And you're
sign
good
an
to go.
affidavit saying you're not smuggling any steak tartare in your trunk. Today, consuming raw meat has fallen out of fashion in the US, much like other foods like veal and pate,
Since when was consuming raw food a thing?
which don't make you sick but might make you sad. But while baby
Probably
cow
will make
and
you sick.
overstuffed goose liver is illegal in parts of America now, tartare is not. See, while veal
What
and
even is
pate
tartare?
may be uncool, they are also served hot, unlike tartare, which is chopped up cold meat, straight from the cow. Undercooked or raw foods can lead to an increase in food poisoning and parasitic infections, especially in beef and poultry.
Not
But
surprised.
considering how fancy pants steak tartare is, Titanic food one might say, you'd think countries might look the other way and let the luxury delicacy slide.
Mr. Bean. There's nothing about Mr. Bean. People think there's like hundreds of episodes. There's only like 10. Which is the thing, that's mind blowing. The amount of times I see a different episode, I think. And then I swear I've seen at least 20 different episodes and there's only like 10.
And
Fair
for a
enough.
long time they did. In Canada, meat has to reach an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, the equivalent of a medium rare steak, in order to be considered safe to serve.
Fair
But
enough.
those rules aren't strictly enforced. That is,
Oh.
until recently. In 2021, restaurant owners in New Brunswick selling steak tartare were all served cease and desist letters. Canadian public health officials had decided that amid the ongoing health crisis of COVID-19, the last thing their citizens needed was a side order of botulism.
That is true. Again, Coca-Cola, this doesn't surprise me either.
Is there anything more American than Coca-Cola?
Probably not,
The
to be fair.
fizz, the flavor, the former secret ingredient, cocaine. Coke
Um,
is basically apple
I
pie
mean, it makes
in
sense,
beverage
which
form.
is I mean,
And it's
it is in the name if you kind of think about it. So it doesn't surprise me that it once was in it.
not just
I mean, I hate Coca-Cola anyway, so
American.
I mean, I hate all Coke. I mean, I hate all Coke. Never had Coke, that Coke, but then the cola I hate as well. So I'm good.
Who are cuckoo for Coke. Invented by a pharmacist in 1886 Georgia, Coca-Cola
1886.
quickly caught on overseas. It was the World War II GI's drink of choice. Pre-pandemic, Coca-Cola had 500 brands in over 200 countries, making it the best-selling soft drink and one of the most recognizable brands of all time.
It definitely is very recognisable. I mean, especially at Christmas time, that's all you hear is the Coca-Cola truck. So, yeah, it's kind of... I don't know why I'm stuttering so much, but it does make sense.
But there will always be exceptions.
I don't know what makes sense.
And unlike the other entries on the list, for once, it has nothing to do with health concerns. Everybody
So we're
knows
just
that
banning it
Coke
for the sake
is
of it.
not good for you.
Yeah, we all know
We
that.
just decided collectively that we don't care. No, the countries that have outlawed the brand have done so because of what it represents, a symbol of the encroachment of American capitalism. From 1962 to 2011, the U.S. banned sales of Coke to Burma as part of sanctions against the military junta that ruled the country until 2011.
Okay.
It resumed sales in the country in 2012.
Fair
Today,
enough.
Coca-Cola is only unavailable in 2 countries with long-term trade embargoes with the U.S. North Korea hasn't allowed Coke since 1950, and the bubbly beverage has been banned in Cuba since Fidel Castro ceased supplies in 1962.
Okay.
First the prequels, now Coke. Is there anything that can't be ruined by the federalization of trade taxation?
The prequels weren't ruined. The prequels are good. So if you're chatting shit about the prequels, you can do one.
In a twist of irony and lime, Cuba was actually one of the first bottlers of the beverage outside of America. Today, Cuba Cola has replaced Coke
Cuba
as the
Cola.
country's soft drink of choice, though black market sales abound. After all, it is the birthplace of the Cuba Libre, aka the rum and Coke.
So they just make them
Bound. After all, it is the birthplace of the Cuba Libre, aka the rum and Coke.
M&M's. So we've had Skittles. This doesn't surprise me either.
M&M's.
It's probably the same thing.
Delicious
'Cause
melted
I'm seeing a bunch of yellow, which means there is definitely yellow 17 and yellow 24, as well as red 26 in this as well.
in your mouth, not in your hand snacks were originally a collaboration between the Scion sons of the Mars and Hershey dynasties in
Hershey's is dead,
1941.
by the way.
Like Coca-Cola, M&M's gained international fans during World War II, as American soldiers popularized the candy overseas as the chocolate that won't get your trigger finger all sticky.
So they had M&M's and Coca-Cola. Well, that was their treat. So they had M&M's and Coca-Cola. That was their treat. For if they won the war, you get some M&M's. During the war, you're going bang, 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 bang. Here's some M&M's. Here's a cola, and then bang, bang, bang again. So I mean, again, M&M's is very much well known. Everyone knows what M&M's is. So
But you won't find the candy in Sweden, where it's banned due to a trademark conflict with a popular national candy that also features lowercase m's as its signature.
fair
When
enough.
Mars introduced the candy to Sweden in 2009, a court ruled its marketing too similar to that of the Norwegian Marabous, which resemble Kit Kats. During World War I,
Kit Kats?
Marabou had moved its manufacturing to its Swedish neighbors, where it received a royal warrant of appointment by the King of Sweden. And here we thought the Swiss were the chocolate snobs. Should you want to check out what the fuss is all about, Marabou's is sold in IKEA stores here in the U.S. Well, at
Big
least
up
it's good to
IKEA.
know that M&Ms don't contain any harmful dyes or chlorine residue, right? That's a pretty important victory for
That is true.
hard-shelled chocolate. So what do you think?
That is true. But so that was an interesting video. A lot of it was banned because of colours or raw meat, or because they couldn't be asked to cook it. So just stay away from American foods if you're in America. I'm sorry.